So, I just wanted to comment on what I saw last night before going to bed. And it's the assassination of a fella called Charlie Kirk in America. Very big, very popular. Says some controversial things. Well, to some people think it's controversial. Some people don't. Very political, would debate people and talk about things openly, was big on free speech and many other things. The reason I want to comment on it is because, I've seen it. And I did listen to a few of his things and whatever. And I think, for me, the biggest factor that I think about with it all is that people are killed for free speech, or people are killed for giving the thought and giving their opinions and trying to change the world using words. And I don't think anyone should ever be killed for trying to solve things with words. Now, obviously, we live in an existence where things aren't perfect and bad stuff happens. But it's just interesting to me that something like this happens because, one, someone loved what they did and someone wanted to change the world with the words. Whether you agree with what he talks about or not, I don't think it necessarily matters. That's a debate in itself. That's what I see. That's why I think what's happened is bad. And there have been many people been assassinated for using the word to try and create a change. And I do understand that not everyone who gets to use the word may use it for good, and the words that they use will always be for good. Some people say some fucked up shit and try and change the world for the worse. You can't help that. That's what comes with free speech. And I guess that's the issue we're seeing in this country, in England. It's the free speech. People are getting arrested for free speech, for saying things, so there's no free speech. There's a big thing of it right now. Unfortunately, what comes with the battle of free speech is you get the people that are trying to speak freely and who are trying to vouch for it are in the firing line of consequences, which is what happened, which is crazy, but it is also the risk. And I think there's some kind of beauty in what's happened. In a sense, there's someone doing what he loves and maybe willing to die for what he loves. Who knows, you'd have to have asked him that before, but it seemed like he would, which is an interesting factor because saying those words that you would die for what you love is a massive commitment because it also includes sacrificing yourself almost ahead of your family. Because there's so many people, including myself, and so many pieces of content out there of people talking and giving opinions, I do think we get lost in the value of it, in the importance of it, and in the risk of it. We all think we just sit down in front of a camera and talk and say things maybe we've planned out or just things off the top of your head. But I think to me what this shows, the death of Charlie Kirk, which I'm not saying I'm a huge fan and whatever, he probably said some good stuff and there are worse people in the world, but what this shows to me is the value of the actual words. There's a huge amount of value in just speaking out, in just saying what you think. And debating. What else have you got in the world if you can't talk through problems and debate problems and come to it with logical arguments, with examples and evidence and statistics? And the unfortunate thing is, because of the things I've seen of Charlie Kirk, he would use statistics to back up his arguments. And unfortunately, he's now become a statistic. And it also does show the importance of legacy. The importance of what are you doing? Back to would you die for what you love? How many people in the world, when they come to look at their actions day to day, would actually probably be okay if they died? One in that moment, but died for what they're actually doing. There's got to be a handful of people out there that would actually do that. That when they get into something, if they weren't told that that was the risk, how many people would step back and say, nah, I'm all right? It gets me thinking about it. How far am I willing to go to express my thoughts, to talk about things? Am I willing to put my own life at risk for the things that I say? And that then leads you down the path of thinking more about what you have to say, thinking before you speak, because your words hold so much value. You've got to be careful what you say. You've got to look at the impact of your words. And that goes for a mass scale of people doing videos, and it goes on a smaller scale of maybe just within your family, within your friends, at school. What you say to random strangers. You need to watch how you are around people and be a bit more thoughtful because you don't know the consequences of your actions. This fella had kids, had a wife who I think, from what I've seen, was actually at attendance at the show that he was at. And you think about the impact on their life. Now you don't know, but those kids could grow up to be great people. I always look at horrific events, and it's horrific, especially for that family. It might not be horrific for everyone else. But I always look at it and try and see what value will come out of it. And if what he's talking about, if the videos and the work he's put in is worth it and is valuable, it only spreads bigger and more now. And again, that goes hand in hand with the point of, what do you create? What do you do in this world? Because when you die, does it leave an impact? Does it have some sort of substance to it? What value does it have? When you're looking at bad events like this, you've got to see the value. And if what he's talking about is right, maybe it starts to switch people's minds into thinking more, even if you don't agree with him. And this is what I enjoy about people who do the things what he does, is it's debating. It's talking about things. It's getting ideas out there, giving evidence and saying what's right and what's wrong, and other people saying, no, you're wrong, I'm right. And it gets the conversation going about problems that spark so much more than it does. Violence forces things. Violence, I think, was his actual last words on a microphone. And it's a key word that you have to think about, because violence is effective, but violence isn't the answer, not that I see. It doesn't impact as much as words can. One, because violence leads to a shorter period of influence. You go to war for however many years compared to discussing an idea for however long. Now, you could say violence has a quicker impact or could have a more substantial impact in a way, but will it last forever? There's that debate of, if it's forced upon you through violence, is it your ideas compared to someone convincing you? That's an idea up for debate. But the violence and the hardship in this world does show valuable things. And you look at his situation, it might persuade people to be more passionate and think more about the problems in the world and not just avoid things and in the day-to-day not think about the societies we actually live in. You don't know the impact of something like what's happened could have. Even in death, you've already got powerful people and influential people talking about this, and you don't know what solutions come out of this, what preparations come out of it. But the issue is, if people forget, in a week's time, is there another news story that covers this, that makes this sit on the back burner, disappear? Because we've all had famous people or influential people be shot. We've all seen it. We've all know the history of people in time, and I do think about that. I do wonder about, have we got less massive figures in the world in comparison to the past? You're looking at your Martin Luther Kings, your Malcolm X's, even your Bob Marleys and your Nelson Mandelas, and even bigger personalities. But they're the ones at the moment you've grown up with and you talked about. And assassination comes into one of those. How is this still repeated? How is this action still looked at being a successful one? Whether it's conspiracy theories or go into it and everything, but who knows? But I do wonder about the role models that you see. They don't seem to be as big anymore. Whether it's just because we're in that current time, but people have forgotten. You've got these massive figures that everyone grows up and knows, who have come up throughout history. Who's going to be the one in our generation, in our lifetime, where their name sticks? It doesn't stick because they want it to stick. It sticks because of the purpose of what they're talking about. And that's where it comes back to the words and how words can be so important and just what people stand for. That's also a point. Whether what they're discussing is right or wrong, sure, make a focus on being right. But it's important to see what people stand for rather than the ideas that they're talking about. So sometimes we get lost in that because we don't agree with what people say. But you forget their intentions. Most people are just trying to make the world a better place. And I think that's all there is to the world. If you're trying to do that, sure, it's bad if it all goes tits up and you're saying the wrong shit. But that's the important factor, I think, over history, over time. It's trying to be on the good side, trying to do good, and then society needs to worry about what is good and all the details of that. But as human to human, to try and do good. No one can argue with that. No one can say someone's wrong for trying to be good, and especially doing good. A little 2 cents on it, because can't help but see it when I go on my phone. I've got a little bit of an attachment to it because I've seen clips and I've watched videos, and it intrigues me because he's speaking about things that he cares about. And you can't knock a fella for doing that. Obviously, I'm biased because this is what I'm doing. Anyway, peace.